federal voting rights legislation stalled in Congress, Democratic lawmakers and civil rights activists are calling on the Biden administration to issue a new executive order aimed at better protecting voters against restrictive state election laws. Now, this move comes as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis just signed a law creating an elections police force that will investigate voter fraud without a shred of evidence that any fraud actually took place. This is part of a national trend of Republican lawmakers now passing a wave of election laws following former President Trump's false claims of a stolen election. Now, voter fraud is rare in the United States. An Associated Press review of the 2020 election, for instance, found fewer than 475 cases of possible fraud in 6 battleground states disputed by Trump. Joining us now, Judith Browne Dianis. She's Executive Director of Advancement Project National Office. Judith, thank you for being with us. Let's start with this question at the top. Is an executive order needed?
Yes. We need an executive order because Congress could not get voting protections through. I mean, this is a fundamental right in this country, and it's our way to participate in our democracy. Yet we could not get bipartisan support. There were 2 Democratic senators, as you know, who sat out and did not support voting rights protections. And so now it's time for the president to step up, because what we are seeing in this country across the states is an effort, a concerted effort to make it harder to vote for particular groups, especially voters of color.
Dig into the number I just mentioned, which is the proof of voter fraud, small as the numbers I just quoted, and the response here potentially coming from Florida's governor saying, hey, but it's actually bigger than that, and we need an election police unit.
Yeah, I mean, this is a continuation of the big lie, and really he is peddling lies and disinformation because voter fraud evidence is very scant. We say in the voting rights world that you're more likely to be struck by lightning than to find a prosecutable case of voter fraud, and that is the truth. So we don't need an additional police force that looks into it, because also there are laws on the books already to actually prosecute voter fraud. And so we know that this is peddling lies, him playing to his base who don't believe the outcome of the last election. And then also this is an effort to intimidate voters. You know, we just won a really important voting rights case in Florida. And then the governor turns right around and does what the court said that they should not do, which is to engage in voter suppression that actually targets Black voters. And so this is nothing new for those who want to suppress the vote. Turning to the police has always been an effort to intimidate voters, and that's what Governor DeSantis is doing now.
And part of the conversation here, Judith, is also ranked choice, where as a voter you can say, I like number 1, I like number 2, and I like number 3. Conservatives are saying, who are critical of this, they're saying the approach favors progressives. Discuss that.
Yeah, well, ranked choice voting actually allows for some coming together and collective voice, where people you get to choose and you get to rank, and sometimes you wind up with a compromise candidate because people have ranked their first, second, and third choice, and sometimes that meets up. And so they're worried because what it does is that it gives the minority an equal say in our democracy. And what they want is they want to be able to continue to have white Republicans in control of state legislatures, so that they continue to not only peddle the lies, but they can also continue to pass legislation on all kinds of issues that are setting us back in this country, whether it's abortion, voting rights, you name it, anti-gay laws. They want to maintain control, and they know if we use ranked choice voting, that minority voters will have more of a voice in our elections.
Building on the election police idea, Donald Trump now endorsing candidates, the ability to oversee elections who buy into his false claims of a stolen election. Former Kentucky Senate candidate Amy McGrath, now part of a group pushing back against these candidates. I'll play a little bit of that first.
If you look back at 2020 and the elections there, you know, he was thwarted in his attempt to overturn the election by people in these key positions of secretaries of state who were people of integrity.
Democrats and Republicans, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's nonpartisan. People of integrity who just, their job is to count the votes. Their job is to certify the election. And he has said, this is the weakest link. This is the path to the White House. If I can replace these people of integrity with people who will do my bidding, with these election deniers, then I can get there. That's his path.
So, Judith, races that are not often watched, the races for the Secretary of State in each state in the Union. They decide how these elections are proceeded.
Right. I mean, you remember there was one Secretary of State named Katherine Harris who played a really important role in the 2000 election. And so these are very important positions. And it's interesting that someone like Trump could be supportive of states' rights until it comes down to a Secretary of State who won't give him the election. And, you know, he should be looking at this as them. It's a power grab, but it's also a different way of doing an insurrection, right? To be able to do this kind of power grab that usurps the power of Secretary of States to do their job, which is to run elections with integrity. And what they are seeking to do is for them to actually do what Trump wants them to do, which is to cheat in order to put him in power.
Judith, stand by. I know you're sticking around for a little bit. We're going to take a break, but because next, new developments in the police killing of Patrick Lyoya in Michigan. We're going to look at the legal case prosecutors are considering and the impact it could have on policing nationwide.
Why give your family just ordinary eggs when they can enjoy the best? Eggland's best.
The only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste.
Plus superior nutrition, which is now more important than ever.
My great-grandmother started a legacy of education in my family.
She ran for state office.
I had no problems breaking the norms.
She had a dream and decided to pursue